الصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد अल्लाह ताला क़िबला शख्स की मोहब्बत कबूल फरमाए और ये उनकी शफ़क़त है, वरना इस सेंटर की ज़ीनत भी यही है। और हमारे लिए सआदत की बात है कि इन जो सिलसिले यहाँ प्रोग्राम वगैरह शुरू हुए और बिलखुसूस मुहर्रम का ये इन्हीं की मेहनत है और अल्लाह ताला इनकी सही को कबूल फरमाए और इसकी बरकत से हमें सीखने की तौफीक बख्शे। अब उर्दू में यहाँ तक बात होगी, अब इंग्लिश में। Following the series of lectures or short speeches that we've had the past couple of days, this is the final of that series, and inshallah today I would like to mention the aftermath, what happened after the Martydom of Imam Hussain raDiAllahu ta'ala, and some of the events which took place after the 10th of Muharram, and what happened with the people who were responsible or had some involvement in what happened on that day, and just some historical perspective as well. First and foremost, obviously, being a very emotional account, every single account, and every step of the way when you follow it, whether you follow it from a historical perspective or you just follow it as a sequence of events, very emotive. And so sometimes it's very difficult to try and hold yourself back and miss out things, but it's something that must be done to cover things in time. When the blessed head of Imam Hussain raDiAllahu ta'ala anhu was put forward in front of Ibn Ziyad. Now, the reaction of Ibn Ziyad was the same as the reaction of Yazid. He had like a cane or a stick in his hand, and he was stroking. He was basically, out of disrespect, you can say, taking that stick and poking the blessed head of Imam Hussain raDiAllahu ta'ala anhu, a companion who was, at that time, he was of old age, Sayyidina Zayd bin Arqam. He could not stand for this, and he stood up and he told him off and said, do you not know what you were doing? And I have seen the Prophet ﷺ kiss these lips, and here you are poking away with your cane or your stick. And Ibn Ziyad saying that if you weren't an old man, I would surely punish you. Now, so Ibn Ziyad had not been affected by what he was seeing. There was no remorse. There was nothing absolutely. In front of him was the head of the grandson or the son of the Prophet ﷺ. What we have to remember is that our Prophet ﷺ referred to Imam Hassanain Karimain, both of them, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussain, as his sons. This is how and they were referred to by the people. Imam Hussain, when he was addressed at times, he was addressed as Ibn Rasulillah. He was addressed as the son of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he was not affected by what was going on. And he sent those who remained from that group, family of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the companions of Imam Hussain raDiAllahu ta'ala, and the women and children, and Sayyidina Zayn al-Abidin, who was very ill, and he was put into shackles, and they were sent towards, accompanied by Shimr, the tyrant. They were sent towards Yazid. And when Yazid received news of what happened with Imam Hussain raDiAllahu ta'ala, and it is said, the books, it's documented that it said that he did mention that I did not want this to happen. I did not want the death of Imam Hussain raDiAllahu ta'ala. But in all honesty, if you're going to send a tyrant, and you're going to send someone like Ibn Ziyad to arrest the Imam, and you know of the consequences and the possibilities, if he really did not want the death of Imam Hussain raDiAllahu ta'ala, and he could have said to Ibn Ziyad, whatever you do, I don't want you to take the life of the Imam or any of his companions. I want you to arrest them and bring them alive. But he did not say this, and we know he did not say this. And when the blessed head of the Imam was placed in front of him, before this happened, when Ibn Ziyad received the head, what he actually did was in Kufa, he celebrated his victory and paraded with the blessed head of Imam Hussain raDiAllahu ta'ala, showing people, and not only the other companions as well, and showing the people of Kufa that if this is what happens if you stand up against Yazid. And he took the caravan with him, the companions, and he paraded them, obviously just adding insult to injury. And then they went to Yazid. Now when Yazid saw the blessed head, again he did the same thing as is documented in the books, and he was told off about that as well. But then he tried to, he said to Sayyidina Nu'man bin Bashir, who, as you remember, was the governor of Kufa, and then he was removed from his post for not taking action against Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil raDiAllahu ta'ala. And so because Yazid saw Sayyidina Nu'man bin Bashir as a well-wisher of the family of the Prophet ﷺ, so he gave him the responsibility. He said, you go and accompany them back to Madinatul Munawwara, and he took 30 people with him. Now, what Yazid actually did was, he took Sayyidina Zainul Abidin raDiAllahu ta'ala anhu to one side, and he said to him, look, this wasn't my doing. Ibn Ziyad acted violently, and he acted of his own accord, and I had nothing to do with this, and if you need anything from me in the future, please continue to write to me, and if you need anything in the future, let me know, and I will try to provide for you and help you. All this is, the scholars are very accurate in saying that this was all political, and for him to keep a few mouths shut, he was doing it to show the people. If he really had any sympathy or any concern, the whole thing would not have happened. The event would not have taken place. Anyway, this caravan, they come back, they return to Madinatul Munawwara, and you can imagine the emotions, because they came straight back to the shrine, the Rawdah of the Prophet ﷺ. And Imam Zainul Abidin, his condition was such that the sorrow and the grief in what he had seen and what he had experienced was so overwhelming that he had become silent. He was not speaking. And when he saw the blessed shrine of his grandfather, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that's when he spoke. And he said, O Messenger of Allah, O my grandfather, accept the salam of your grandson. And then he began to speak his feelings. And that's when people all around were obviously in tears. In fact, when they entered Madinatul Munawwara, the people surrounded them. And because no one was expecting the nature of the events of the 10th of Muharram. The most that probably they expected was some kind of disagreement or them being sent back. But the battle, the way it happened, and the likes of Sayyidina Abbas losing both arms as he tried to carry water back for the children of the Al-Bayt, and the likes of Ali Asghar raDiAllahu ta'ala anhu, a baby, an arrow being shot at a baby, and being martyred in the arms of his father. And all these images and all these thoughts and memories were still fresh. So now that Imam Hussain raDiAllahu ta'ala anhu had been martyred, Yazid did not see any obstacle. The Imam's presence and the Imam being in Madinatul Munawwara and him being around basically was a big obstacle for Yazid in terms of he wouldn't do the things that he was doing as freely. So what did he do? As I mentioned briefly yesterday, I touched upon this. He sent an army of some say 12,000 and some say 20,000 people to attack whom? To attack Muslims. Which Muslims? To attack the Muslims of the Holy Lands. These people attacked the Muslims of Madinatul Munawwara. And there's no exaggeration in saying attacked. They robbed the homes of the Muslims. They tied their horses in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ. there was so much bloodshed that no one came to pray in the masjid for 3 days. A single person did not come to the masjid for 3 days. It is said about a certain tabi'i that he came, but people did not come to the masjid. They did not end there. They violated the honor of the women of Madinatul Munawwara. They made the women halal upon themselves. This for 3 days. This is the nature of the attack and the nature of the bloodshed. And just to put things into perspective, it is said that they martyred more than 10,000 Muslims. And in those days, we look at big cities and big populations today, but in those days that number, more than 10,000 Muslims were martyred by these tyrants. This was the kind of freedom that Yazid was looking for. And the Prophet ﷺ has told us, as mentioned in Hadith in Bukhari, that he who deceives the people of Madinatul Munawwara or wages war against them will melt in water, will melt the way salt melts in water. The Prophet ﷺ said that he who has a bad intention or evil intention for the people of Madinatul Munawwara, he will be made to melt in the fire of hell. Now, these traditions were well known to the people, but these people did not care, and they attacked. When they, after doing what they did in Madinatul Munawwara, the armies, they moved to Makkatul Mukarramah. And what did they do there? Again, they attacked the holy city and the masjid itself. The walls of the Kaaba were damaged, the roof of the Kaaba was broken, the pillars within the masjid were damaged and broken. There were boulders and rocks in Masjidul Haram. There was fire in Masjidul Haram. These people were literally hurling rocks from a distance. And Abdullah bin Zubayr was fighting them, and the siege of Makkatul Mukarramah lasted for approximately 2 months. The historians and scholars say for 2 months they were attacking the holy city of Makkatul Mukarramah, and it only stopped when they received news that Yazid had died. Abdullah bin Zubayr raDiAllahu ta'ala anhu said, "Why are you fighting? Why are you still fighting as your leader has died?" And they didn't believe him at first, but when they confirmed the news that Yazid had died, so what? A few years after what he did, how long did his rule and how long did he enjoy his kingdom for after what happened? So Yazid, when they found out that Yazid died, now suddenly all that emotion and all that passion to fight, it was lessened. And the Muslims, they fought harder and harder, and they're able to push these people out. And Sayyidina Abdullah bin Zubayr raDiAllahu ta'ala anhu was blessed with victory over them. And then the people of the surrounding areas, they pledged allegiance to him. So this was the kind of atrocities, some of which took place after the Martydom of Imam Hussain raDiAllahu ta'ala anhu. And when Yazid died, his son Muawiyah, as described, was not a bad man. He was 21 years of age approximately, and he was just a normal, he's even described as a pious young man, but his rule did not last for very long. Some say it was a matter of 40 days, some say 2 months, and he died. And as he was dying, they said to him, who are you gonna hand your kingdom over to? Who's gonna rule after you? And he said, I have not experienced any sweetness from this rule, and I do not want to give this to anyone else. I have no interest in this. And he died at the age of 21, just days or a couple of months after his father. Now, after him, a name which you might have heard, Marwan, who was known for his support of Yazid. He managed to, through his trickery and through his tongue and through his scheming, he managed to gain control. After his death, Abdul Malik bin Marwan, his son, became the leader. Abdul Malik bin Marwan was described, initially he was a pious individual and a knowledgeable individual, but then he became corrupt too. Now, in Abdul Malik bin Marwan's time, a man rose to power in Kufa. and his name was Mukhtar. And Mukhtar bin Ubayd Saqafi. He rose to power in Kufa. Now this man, he made an oath, and he said that I will avenge the family of the Prophet ﷺ. I will kill every single individual who was involved in that act of the 10th of Muharram. He took this oath, and he said, may Allah and His Messenger curse me if I don't do so. Oh, with this oath and with this intention, he began to search for all the people involved and kill them. Ibn Sa'ad, he sent people to get Ibn Sa'ad. Ibn Sa'ad hid himself, and his son came to Mukhtar and mentioned that, my father's this, my father, trying to get his father forgiven in some way. But while he was talking to Mukhtar, Mukhtar sent some of his soldiers, and they actually found Ibn Sa'ad. Ibn Sa'ad was killed, beheaded, and his head was thrown in front of his son. And then when his son looked at the head of his father in front of him, he said, now there is no joy in life. Mukhtar said, surely that is the case, you will die too, and killed him as well. And then said that these lives are for the lives of Imam Hussain and his son Ali Akbar, even though there is no comparison. These were his words when he killed both of them. Another individual who was described as being responsible in the death of Imam Hussain raDiAllahu ta'ala anhu, he was killed in public. His relatives were called and he was killed in front of them, then his body was burnt. So Mukhtar was on this mission of killing all these people. Shimr, who was the man who beheaded Imam Hussain raDiAllahu ta'ala anhu, and he was also the man who intervened when it seemed that there would be peace between both parties. Shimr was initially tried to escape. He was finally caught. He was killed. His head was taken off, and then his body was thrown to the dogs to feed the dogs. Another man who claimed, who had some involvement, his hands and his feet were chopped off, and blood continued to gush from both areas until he died. So basically, all these people were being picked out and killed. The man who shot the arrow at Sayyiduna Ali Asghar raDiAllahu ta'ala anhu, it is said about him that he developed a burning sensation in his stomach, and it was so bad that he drank water, lots of water, but that burning sensation would not go. And the strange thing was that in the stomach he felt this burning sensation, and towards his back he felt extreme cold. So what people did was they would burn a fire behind him to give him heat, and they would put ice in front of him or on his stomach to try to remove the burning sensation. And this way he continued to drink, and he died saying, thirst, thirst. So all these people were involved, were being picked at. Ibn Ziyad, who was obviously arguably the main culprit, the main person involved, he took an army and decided to fight, but Mukhtar's army overpowered him, and he died near the Euphrates water on the 10th of Muharram in the year 67 after Hijrah. And what happened with Ibn Ziyad, his head was taken off and his head was put on a spear, and Mukhtar announced in Kufa, he said, 6 years ago this man, same date, same location, this man did this to the family of the Prophet ﷺ, and today this is his head here today. And he celebrated the way Ibn Ziyad celebrated his victory. Mukhtar celebrated, and he called everyone. And it is mentioned in Tirmizi that when his head was being shown or was on display, a snake appeared, and the snake slithered through other heads, and it went to Ibn Ziyad's head, went into his nostrils and out of his mouth 3 times, and then it disappeared. The people witnessed this. Now, these were some examples of what happened to those people who were involved in the Martydom of Imam Hussain. Now, another thing, interesting thing, was that it wasn't only the people who were involved in battle. It is well documented that the people who had involvement in terms of betraying the household of the Prophet ﷺ. Remember the people of Kufa, they wrote letters to Imam Hussain saying that you come and we'll support you and we'll follow you and we'll be at your side. And the deception when Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil, when he was praying and there were 500 people behind him, and when he finished his prayer there wasn't a single person behind him. These were the people who had called Imam Hussain for help. And this was the state of these people. Fear of their lives and fear of Yazid. They left the family of the Prophet ﷺ. So a lot of other people, they began to die with strange conditions and strange illnesses. And this old man got up. The word spread that all people who were involved in what happened with the family of the Prophet ﷺ are all strangely dying or suffering from conditions or being killed. And this old man got up in the masjid and he said, well, I was involved and nothing happened to me. He actually said it quite confidently. He said, I was involved as well, nothing's happened to me. And he got up to fix a lamp. And as he was fixing the lamp, he tripped or the lamp fell on him and he was on fire within seconds. Within moments he was on fire. And he tried to put the fire out, but he burnt to death on the spot. So the people witnessed this. Thousands of people who died within months or years after what had happened. And from all these accounts, we come to that, well, one thing's important also, that Mukhtar, unfortunately, towards the end, after doing what he did, the power can corrupt, as they say. He made the mistake, the mortal mistake of claiming to be a prophet. And when Sayyidina Abdullah bin Zubayr heard about this, he sent his army and Mukhtar was killed as well. So it just shows that Allah can pick an individual to do some amazing things. But that is not necessarily a case that individual will remain at the peak of his respect and the peak of his power. And this is a reminder that Allah can pick whom He wishes to do what He wishes. So those who fought against the family of the Prophet ﷺ within a matter of months and years met their end and were killed or died of various conditions or died in strange ways. Now, my dear brothers and respected elders, the purpose of this was the final piece of the series, and I would just like you to think about our purpose of gathering here, to enable us to remember and remind ourselves of the history of Islam and the sacrifices which have taken place, and also these accounts today remind us of the fact that the people who were blinded by the power that they had, in the end that power could not save them. It was only a matter of time. Yazid did what he did, but he ruled for a matter of years after. As far as the family of the Prophet ﷺ is concerned, even today we remember their sacrifices and we praise them and we try to follow in their blessed footsteps. Now, it's all right going through these narrations and going through these accounts, but let us all ask ourselves this question: what have we done up until now in our lives? Which actions have we performed which would please the family of the Prophet ﷺ? Today, our preferences in life, are those preferences which would please the family of the Prophet ﷺ? Today, there are some of us who are ashamed of being affiliated to Islam. Today, and we know this is the fact, today our homes do not resemble the homes of believers. There is no difference between us and those who oppose Islam. In our speech, in our character, in what we teach our children, in what we see on what we watch on television, in our aims and hopes in life. If we were to just gather a few Muslims and say to them, what do you hope for yourself? What do you hope for your children? I can guarantee you that most of them will hope for themselves that they get a lot of money, and a good house, and they have a bigger house in Pakistan. Okay, and what do you hope for your children? Same, more same. He has a lot of respect. Maybe go into politics and maybe do this. Not trying to speak against politics, There'll rarely be a parent who'll say, I want my son to be a great hafiz of the Quran, to be a means of making others memorize the Quran. I want my son to be a great alim, and he is a means of calling people to the message of the Al-Bayt. I want my son to be a mufti so that he judges according to Islam, and he is able to resolve matters between Muslims and make things easier for them. The fact of the matter is that the mentality isn't even there, the thinking isn't even there. We don't even think like that. And here we are shaking our heads with 10th of Muharram and thinking about the sacrifices of Imam Hussain raDiAllahu ta'ala anhu, and we don't even know how to read the Quran properly. We don't even know our obligations in the religion. If someone was to ask us about salah, or someone was to watch us pray, a scholar would probably take out 15, 20 mistakes. And you know what our attitude will be? No, I've been praying like this for a long time. Well, I know better. This is the kind of attitude. So not only do you have the fact that you are doing something wrong, you have the arrogance to actually oppose a person of knowledge. I know better. Who are you to tell me I've been doing this for years? It doesn't matter. Knowledge is something, and haqq is something which will always keep us humble. Our Prophet ﷺ has said that he who is humble for Allah, Allah raises him. We should be humble, not humble because so-and-so Haji Sahib is watching me, so I'm going to be humble in front of him. We are humble for the sake of Allah. Why do we talk to each other? Why do we contact each other today, these days? Why do we invite each other to our houses each day? I want you to think about all these points. Is it solely and purely for the sake of Allah? Or are we doing it because in the back of our mind we have no, we want something of dunya from them. Okay? Amongst each other, astaghfirullah, the purity has gone, the sincerity has gone. Oh, it's been a long time, I haven't met so-and-so. I'm not gonna, I've got to get him to do something, but I'll best invite him to my house and give him a cup of tea, and then after that I can talk to him about what I really want. What? Sincerity. And sincerity comes when you do things for the sake of Allah Almighty. A companion asked the Prophet ﷺ, Ya Rasulullah, I want people to be happy with me. What did the Prophet ﷺ say to him? Don't look at what people have. Don't look at people's hands. Turn away from what they have, and people will be happy with you. And wallah, to give sacrifice, you have to have the heart to give sacrifice. It's very easy for us to say here, the family of the Prophet ﷺ, they gave their lives away. Can you live a more frugal and more humble life to serve the religion, or for the sake of the Prophet, or for the sake of the religion? No. Can you imagine on that day when those children of the Ahlul Bayt were dying of thirst, did not have water to drink? Our children today, when they're thirsty and hungry, we don't look at our sleep, we don't look at what condition we're in, we try to provide for them, make sure our children have every comfort and every luxury available to them. We worry about any difficulties our children face. And the Ahlul Bayt gave their lives away and what their children faced. Surely we can learn from this experience, my dear brothers and respected elders. It is time for us to become serious about our responsibilities in the religion and our obligations in the religion. This community is not a small community. If everyone around here, the Muslims around these roads, came to pray in the masjid, this masjid will be full, at least half full. People are not coming to the masjid. Whose fault is that? It's not, we shouldn't say it's their fault, we should say it's our fault. How many times have we invited them? Or why should I invite them? He's from this brotherly and he's from that brotherly, I don't care. So these things have separated us. Oh, he's not from my town in Pakistan, or he's not from here, he's not from there. Or that guy thinks he's too much because he's got his own business, so I'm not gonna. Why should I go and invite him? I don't have to invite him. I don't eat from his house. I don't take anything from him. That is the kind of attitude. We have to become humble, bring people to the house of Allah, and I request, it's a wholehearted request, that if you want this place to be full of Muslims, and if you want to create a good atmosphere here, please, I can't actually say the sentence because I'm in the masjid. Please pull your socks up and do something, and actually do some work and try to bring people in the masjid. Who knows, through our efforts and bringing other people, our sincerity, there may be some shortcoming, but we bring someone who is sincere and we are forgiven due to them. May Allah accept your efforts, may Allah accept your participation. Ameen.